My name is Michel Bodmer. We are here to pay tribute to David Lynch, who sadly died on 16th January of this year, and to present the Foundation for Consciousness-Based Education and World Peace that he co-founded in 2005 and which has now also been established in Switzerland. The panel will talk for about an hour and then open up the discussion to the audience, and the event will end after about 75 minutes, so that's roughly 20 to 4. I'd like to begin by giving a special welcome to Chantal Haunreiter and 15 film students from the Zurich University of the Arts who are with us today. Now, let me introduce our panelists. On my far right, 25 years ago, Regula Curti founded the Seeschau House of Sacred Arts on Lake Zurich in Erlenbach. She holds an MA in music and expressive therapy, and she teaches yoga and mantra chanting. In 2007, she founded Beyond Music, a very successful project for creating healing music, for which Regula got her friend and neighbor Tina Turner to come out of retirement. On my immediate right, Bianca Keyman is a Swiss entrepreneur and a mother of 2. She is the co-founder and the board member of the David Lynch Foundation Switzerland. She is concerned with education, social issues and health, which has prompted her to get involved in the creation of the DLF Resilience Center in Zurich, DLF standing for David Lynch Foundation. To my left, we are very honored to have Dakota Johnson with us. She's an actor and producer, and she's descended from acting royalty. Her grandmother, Tippi Hedren, was one of Alfred Hitchcock's most iconic stars. Her mother, Melanie Griffith, was one of the leading ladies of the 80s. And her father, Don Johnson, made a name for himself in the series Miami Vice, of course, as well as in movies like Django Unchained and Knives Out. Dakota has come to the Zurich Film Festival to present her new film Splitsville and to receive a Golden Eye Award. Congratulations on that. She just participated in a master's session in which she talked about her work. If you only know her as an actor from the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, you have a lot to look forward to, especially the films that she produced with her company Tea Time Pictures, such as Cha Cha Real Smooth, Daddy-O, and now Splitsville. We will shortly be joined via Zoom over there by Bob Roth, the CEO of the David Lynch Foundation US and also a board member of the David Lynch Foundation in Switzerland. Before we start talking up here, let's have 1 minute of silence to honor David Lynch. Thank you. Most of us think of David Lynch as a filmmaker, the director of such masterpieces as Eraserhead, Blue Velvet and Mulholland Drive, and as the creator of the trailblazing TV series Twin Peaks. But David Lynch was so much more. He was a visual artist, a painter and sculptor. He designed furniture. He was an actor, a composer, a somewhat monotonous singer. He was a writer and a comic strip artist. During the pandemic, he even became a weatherman, reporting daily on the mostly sunny skies above Los Angeles and adding quirky remarks about his endeavors, which made him a YouTube personality. One might call him a creative polymath or a Renaissance man, but David Lynch hated labels. Whatever he did bore the stamp of his unique personality, that inimitable combination of a down-to-earth kid from Missoula, Montana, with an artistic sensibility that was completely out there. This was what prompted one of his earliest champions, Mel Brooks, to dub him Jimmy Stewart from Mars, which is still the best nutshell characterization of David Lynch that I know. It is also why, in 2018, the Oxford English Dictionary officially included the adjective Lynchian, making David one of the very few filmmakers, besides Fellini and Hitchcock, whose style is so distinctive that they have literally become a household word. The dictionary explains the adjective as follows, I quote, "Lynch is noted for juxtaposing surreal or sinister elements with mundane everyday environments and for using compelling visual images to emphasize a dreamlike quality of mystery or menace." That's fairly adequate, and it doesn't only apply to films and art. Lynchian moments turn up in our everyday reality too. Every time I see a flickering neon lamp, I think of David Lynch. And whenever I pass an accident on the highway, I can't help thinking back to Sherilyn Fenn staggering around a car wreck with a hole in her head in Wild at Heart. David Lynch's films defied categorization, even though they often referenced genres and specific films. Hitchcock was definitely a touchstone for Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks and Mulholland Drive with their psychosexual dramas, while The Wizard of Oz pops up in Wild at Heart and elsewhere. But often enough, and especially in his later work, audiences and critics were at a loss because David's films did not follow conventional narrative structures or logic. Any attempts to rationalize these strange, dreamlike audiovisual events would lead to headaches and frustration. In interviews, David Lynch would twist and turn if pressed to explain his films. He would talk about the ocean of ideas in which ideas would swim like fish, and he would try to catch them. He would be perfectly charming in his odd way, without really saying anything that a film critic would find useful. He was relentlessly curious, and in one of our interviews, he was more interested in the mind map that I had drawn to lay out my questions than he was in answering them. His way of speaking was as unique as his art. He sounded like a character from a 1950s comic strip with expressions like "Holy Jumping George" or "I'll be darned" and "Bango." It was only quite late in life that David Lynch went public about his decades-long practice of transcendental meditation and began to promote it through the foundation he created in 2005. Looking back at his interviews and at his films, with an inkling of what transcendental meditation meant to him, it becomes obvious why he would not put into words what made his creations the way they are. To fully appreciate David Lynch's weirdest work, we need to do what he did in meditation, to go beyond thought to pure consciousness. We will now show you the teaser for the documentary Meditation, Creativity and Peace that David Lynch made with Bob Roth in 2012.
Could you just describe your creative process?
Ideas. We're nothing without an idea. So I say that a desire for an idea is like a bait on a hook. Transcend is the key word. It means to go beyond. You're going beyond field of relativity, duality, experiencing oneness. And what you're doing is unfolding your full potential as a human being.
While I was watching Inland Empire, at the beginning I felt that I was struggling to understand the movie.
Yeah, a common occurrence. If you hear of a light bulb that does not remove darkness, you have not heard of a light bulb. If you will hear of a peace plan that does not remove negativity, you have not heard of a real peace plan. You want real peace, enliven this field of unity.
This documentary is available online, and now, if everything works, we will have Bob Roth joining us via Zoom over there to talk about the documentary. Here we are. Hi, Bob. Actually,
Hello.
he can
Thank
see
you
us
for
from
having me.
at the back of the auditorium. So if you want to look at Bob, you'll have to look up there. Welcome to Zurich, albeit in a virtual way, Bob. Inside creativity, meditation, creativity, and peace. You know the ins and outs of this film. You were there. You made it with David Lynch after a tour of several countries that you did with him. You have been teaching transcendental meditation for a long, long time, and you have authored a book called Strength in Stillness, The Power of Transcendental Meditation. Could you please tell us about the interplay between your practice, your teaching of meditation, and the production of the documentary and the book?
Oh, well, thank you very much. By the way, I thought that tribute to David was absolutely beautiful, one of the finest I have ever heard. Really captured him well. And I also have to say it's wonderful to have Dakota join us. She's a really beautiful soul. I traveled and worked with David for 20 years. And the two things I learned about him, number one, you have to have final cut, which everyone has heard him say. If you have something you want to say, you have to say it in an artistic way and no one gets to mess with it. But whenever he was a teacher, when he was in a position of teaching about film or talking about meditation, he didn't tell people what he wanted to say. He always answered questions. He wanted to know what people had in mind and then speak to that. So when we toured, which was the basis of this documentary, he would just stand on stage, and if nobody had a question, then he wouldn't say a word. But obviously you have David Lynch, so the line was out the hall and around the block. But consistently, no matter what country he was in, from Eastern European nations to South America to all over the US to obviously Europe, many of the same questions came up. And though this tour was put together by local film colleges, film universities, and he responded to the need. He didn't promote anything. People were interested in what he had to say. For a few years, he traveled. And then it was all done. And then many other film schools said, well, David, we'd like you to come. So in response to that need, he went through the film departments in all the different universities where he spoke, documented what he said, the questions and answers. So he got copies of those, and then he just edited together. And that's where that documentary came from. And I think it really captures him and his message and his passion about film and his passion about not telling anybody about the nature of his work and his passion for meditation. And even his book, Catching the Big Fish, came from that too. That was just a series of questions and answers.
So you've obviously shown this film around the world. What surprised you most when showing the film? What were the most surprising reactions?
Well, first of all, it was a transformation for David, who just hated public speaking, hated it, petrified by it. As a matter of fact, there's a great story. He was receiving an award in Hollywood for one of his films, and he was so nervous about it that he pre-taped his acceptance speech. And then with these little cassette recorders, walked up on stage, put the microphone in front of the cassette recorder and pushed the button, and that was his acceptance speech. He got more confident as we went along, but the thing that I noticed in the beginning days and months and years, most of the questions were about film. But as we went along, most of the questions were about meditation, transcendental meditation. The students and the other people were really fascinated, the link between David, his creative process, his meditation, and his work. I mean, the idea of David Lynch being, as they used to call him, Mr. Bliss, with meditation, which was not the case. Of course, David was always David, but it was a fun thing to watch, that disconnect with people, until they realized that meditation, transcendental meditation, doesn't make you into something other than yourself, just makes you into that allows you to get rid of the stress and wake up the creative networks in your brain so you can be more yourself.
So you've been practicing transcendental meditation for a very long time, and you studied with the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And when did you meet David then and find out that you shared this passion?
David and I crossed paths in around 2003, 2002, 2003, 2004, and I had been a teacher, and I always wanted to in teaching transcendental meditation, I love teaching it to the general public, but I always wanted to bring it to inner city school kids or women survivors of domestic violence, or to veterans, people who are in great need and who may not have had the access to the meditation. So I wanted to start a foundation, and David and I had known each other because of our shared practice of transcendental meditation. And I just asked him one time, I said, can we start a foundation, raise funds so that we could give meditation away at no cost to people who are in need? And he said yes. I don't think he realized that meant he was going to travel around the world many times, but he did it willingly, happily. And now the foundation, there's 1.5 million people have learned transcendental meditation, which is an evidence-based meditation that's not a wackadoodle thing. It gives the body deep rest and wakes up the creative networks in the brain. And I'm really happy that Switzerland is opening an office there.
Dakota, did you know David Lynch personally?
No. Is this on? Can
Yep.
you hear me? No, I never got. Hi, Bobby.
Hi
I'm
there.
so happy to see you.
Nice to see you, Dakota. You and my mother call me Bobby, but that's fine. Go
Well,
ahead.
But your emails show up as Bobby on my phone every day.
All right.
I'm on a special email chain.
I didn't do that, but that's fine. Okay.
I never got to meet David. He's like an elusive, mystical creature to me.
He would always tell young and aspiring filmmakers to make their first film any way they could and be true to themselves and their creative vision. Is that roughly why you decided to become a producer, to gain more control over your work and your vision?
I mean, sort of, yes. Bluntly, I struggle with using the word control because it doesn't sound very nice in this industry coming from a woman. People don't like that. So I normally talk about it in a way of wanting to have a more holistic experience with the film industry because it nourishes me more.
Now, you wear many hats. You're, as I said, you're an actor, you're a producer. You even have a book club now, I understand. And you lead a very busy creative life. How and when did you decide to get into transcendental meditation? And how did you meet Bob Roth?
Well, it's almost, I think, 10 years this year that I learned TM. And I learned while I was shooting one of the 50 Shades movies, and I was like, I'm going to lose my mind. And so I like forced them to let me leave a little bit early every day because the woman who was teaching in Vancouver would only teach until like 6 p.m. or something. So I was begging them for 3 or 4 days to let me go and learn. And then I didn't meet Bob until, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago, I feel. And we met in Montauk. I introduced him to somebody to help him learn TM, and we've just become like very close friends since then.
Regula, your Seeschau House of the Sacred Arts is also concerned with creativity and peace, and you collaborated on the documentary Wisdom of Happiness, which premiered at last year's Zurich Film Festival. In that documentary, the Dalai Lama also talks about the uses of what he calls an analytical form of meditation. Seeschau does not offer TM courses. Can you tell us briefly about your own approaches to promoting creativity and peace?
Well, actually, the meditation is always a part of yoga. I'm a Kundalini yoga instructor, which is a very ancient art, and meditation is a very important part. But I came from Buddhism before I was teaching yoga, and the Buddhism, of course, is very much focused on meditation. And my first teacher was Thai Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese teacher of mindfulness, and which is a beautiful soul and really teaches, us how we can bring meditation into daily life. So we have the red light meditation, we have the tea meditation, and it's about mindfulness, but also about to rest in your mind in your quiet mind. And then I was also involved in His Holiness Dalai Lama's organization, the mind research, how meditation works on your mind and where does it happen, especially compassion. Where does compassion happen if you meditate on compassion? So this is also part of my center, and I'm still very much with Mind and Life connected and the research they do. So meditation is daily business in my center still, mainly also with reciting mantras and chanting mantras. Yeah.
It's interesting that both the Dalai Lama and Bob and most of his disciples insist on this sort of scientific validity of meditation. I mean, it's all way far away from what meditation is generally conceived of. It's a much more sort of, well, not rational, but certainly a verifiable form of a verifiable technique of relaxation and invigoration. Bob, David Lynch has made some of the most bizarre and disturbing films ever. And so many people are, and as you said, were surprised that he practiced TM and strongly advocated peace. You mentioned before, that he was using TM in his creative process. Can you be a bit more elaborate about that?
Sure. I would just like to, if it's okay, comment quickly on what you just said about the research. And I think one of the great things we have today with science that they maybe didn't have hundreds of years ago is a recognition that there's no real difference between the mind and the body. So if I'm anxious in my mind, it shows up in my body. If I'm peaceful in my mind, it shows up in my body. And so people have been talking about the value of meditation for a long time, but the practical benefits of it, why should I take time out from my daily life to meditate? Now with being able to read the EEG of the brain or brain scans or heart rate or these things, it just brings meditation to the forefront, which I think these days is absolutely essential. As far as David goes with his creative process, David, and this is one of the reasons why I really enjoyed Inland Empire, because he always talked about the creative process. This is where he came up with the name Catching the Big Fish. He said in creativity, the little ideas, the sort of insignificant ideas, are like little fish swimming on the surface of the pond or the lake. But the big ideas, the kind of transformational ideas in anything, in art, in science, in architecture, in whatever, those are like big fish that swim at the depth of the lake or the pond. And so he found that with transcendental meditation, that his creative process was, don't try and just immediately catch one big fish. He said, start with an idea. Just a creative idea comes to you after meditation or whatever you're doing. It's like bait. And then you use that bait, that idea, and then you drop that in again and you see if it collects something else and collects something else, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So for David, the creative process was one of innocence. You use the word David in innocence, but you met him, so there's an innocent quality about him, that sort of Jimmy Stewart from Mars quality. His creative process was come up with an idea, don't force it, don't strain, and see what develops next. And that was really put to test with Inland Empire, where every morning he would wake up and write that day's script.
Which is still one of his most inaccessible films, yes.
I agree.
Dakota, when you develop a role as an actor, you have to find your way into the character. When you develop a project as a producer, you have to figure out how to make it work within the framework of the resources and the personnel that are available to you. How do meditation and mindfulness support you in these processes?
God, I mean, it supports me just to get through the next 20 minutes of life these days. So in terms of acting, I typically, since I learned TM, I use it as like a safe place to disappear to. It's like connecting to my soul, and also the bonus is getting deep rest. So normally if I'm and also typically when I'm producing something, I'm also acting in it, so it's a lot. But normally we get like 30 minutes for lunch in the day, and it's halfway through the day, and I will take 20 of those minutes to meditate, and then I'll like smash food into my face as quickly as I can. But it helps me to not be so dysregulated by this industry, because it's mayhem constantly, and not be stressed out about what time it is or if I'm doing well or whatever outside influences that just make everyone a frazzled human. It also helps me to, like, this book is one of my favorite books ever. I have had it in my closet for years and years, and I will just open it and read bits of it every day. But it's those moments where, yes, of course, I'm doing TM to center myself and to connect with myself and also with the universe. Like, I want to download, I want messages, I want whatever these ideas are or these messages are to be able to come through. And I feel like when I am doing TM, whether I'm producing or I'm acting, it just allows me to like block out everything else and receive the truth, whether it's coming from deep in my soul or somewhere else, I don't know. But it also helps me to just be a nicer person.
Does it also help you to get out of a role?
Definitely if I'm struggling to sleep when I'm working, which it happens a lot because I'm always kind of reliving the day and going, oh, I could have done that better, or we should have gone back and shot that differently, or whatever it is, I will meditate sometimes like 4 or 5 times a night.
Lynch says in the documentary that people who practice TM are not only happier and at peace with them, more at peace with themselves, but that they radiate this peace and affect the people around them in a positive way. You just said that TM makes you a better person. So is it contagious?
I believe that everything is energy, even your thoughts, your ideas, the way you speak to another person, the way you speak to yourself. So yes, I do think it's contagious. Even if I'm in a situation with a person where we're really not jamming and like we don't hear the same music and we're not making the same movie, I think my ability to, is it raining in here? My ability to just stay centered and calm and sweet can either just diffuse the situation or help other people to calm the fuck down.
Regula, in Wisdom of Happiness, the Dalai Lama talks about how an individual's inner peace can reach out and spread to the community. How do people, or can people, learn that at Seeshau and in your retreats?
They can, yes, of course. But I was just fascinated by you, Dakota, because you could be teaching us already. You said everything about what it is about. You know, that we become better mothers, we become better filmmakers, we become better teachers. And that's the beauty of it. Life gets so much easier. And how he said, it's the missing link to a successful life. And definitely I'm teaching it at Seeshau. It's part of everything I do. I always go before a creative process into meditation with the people, even with my singers I coach. So it's very important that they are centered and that they feel themselves. And as you said, it's about energy. It's about also becoming one with all and with the universal forces as well. And that makes us even more creative if it's aligned with the universe. I experienced it beautifully with my Beyond project with the music. It was that in meditation, we meditate at 5 o'clock in the morning every Wednesday with a group of people, the traditional sadhana. And I felt that there is something important happening in my mind and that I had to bring my vibration and I experienced myself into the world with music. So like packed vibration, energy packed in music. So the only thing how I could reach out into the world was music. So that was in meditation, and it gives you the strength to really manifest it. So.
Well, could I just follow up on that? I mentioned in the beginning the Beyond Music project that you had involved. Tina Turner, can you just briefly sort of talk about that process, how she was brought in and who else was part of that project?
Well, I had the chance that I was her neighbor, and my husband lived in the same house, and so that's how we connected, and we spiritually connected very quickly. She was coming from Nichiren Buddhism, and it saved her life when she was in this abusive relationship with Ike. Very, very simple people got her to teach meditation and the famous mantra Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. So she did, and she got the strength to leave Ike and her family and start a new career. And she never stopped actually meditate. The meditation, I remember I went on the first or on the last tour, and before getting on stage, she would meditate. And I said, why are you doing that? And she said, because I want to give the best to the audience of myself. So first she really plugged into the best of herself to radiate it to the person. So that's also how peace happens. If we are in peace, we radiate peace.
We will now play a second video clip in which two other prominent practitioners of TM talk to Bob about their experiences.
These are two dear friends of the David Lynch Foundation, dear friends of mine, and great human beings, and they practice transcendental meditation. Ray for over 40 years, and Marty since 2008.
Yes, every day, twice a day, as much as I can twice a day. The thing about it is that there's a kind of a peacefulness that I don't think I've ever achieved before, really. And I must say it has made a major difference because, particularly in the morning, because the amount of things that have to be done and the things you have to worry about, and suddenly it just comes together and you stop. I find that I can't do without it that way, literally.
I started in 1968 or 69, and it changed my life because, like, I was a very ordinary or subordinary student. And it brought me a clarity, and made me independent, made me free-flowing, it just gave me lots of gifts.
I remember doing a film called Hugo, which was a film we shot in 3 dimensions, and it would take about an hour to get there, to the studio. But in the morning, I would get up maybe 45 minutes earlier to do meditation, before I was able to face that set with children actors that can only work for like a minute, a dog that wasn't listening, Sacha Baron Cohen who was improvising everything, and everything in 3D, and over schedule and over budget. So, God, there's only one thing you can do is calm it down and get into it and deal with the realities. If there is something on my mind, if there is something I'm really worried about in terms of a character development or particularly a thematic issue, or just trying to get a shot done. Literally, you say, well, we can't do that. We don't have a hallway. It's got to be a track down a hallway. We have no hall. Now what? Well, what is it about? It's about his face. All right. And so you just forget it, and you go into meditation.
That's it.
And somehow something came out. I said, damn it, that's me.
That's exactly what it's like. That's exactly what it's like, right?
Yeah.
Because you go into that place, and actually the physiology of the brain is because that comes from the subconscious. That's where your inventiveness, creativity, inspiration come from. So you just go in there and somehow you come out with the answer.
That's it. That really is.
Through brain imaging, they show that there are 2 big effects. The first is that your amygdala, the part that is causing you the stress, calms down and your prefrontal cortex lights up. And so that brings you an equanimity.
If I don't do it, I tend to waste the time, the energy, the franticness, and things can be very, very frantic. And that 20, 25 minutes, whatever that is a godsend.
The thing to convey is also how it compounds so that it keeps getting better. Whatever amount that you're meditating, next year will be better, and the year after that will be better. So I meditate 20 minutes a day, except if I've got a busy day, then I meditate 40 minutes. So experience it yourself. I mean, how much convincing do you need?
Well, there you are. One of your peers, shall we say, Martin
Yes, my
Scorsese, somebody who's, as we would think, we lay people always in overdrive, and the word frantic also seems to apply. And again, he is somebody who can completely, apparently, focus by doing TM. Do you have sort of an anecdote like that, like the one of the hallway, where perhaps as a producer you had to sort of deal with that kind of crisis?
Yeah, of course, always. I mean, this is already like a pretty woo-woo conversation, but watching this from this angle is so trippy to see these guys' faces just humongous over it. I wish you guys were sitting here because it's really wild. I can't even name the number of times I've had moments on set where we're like, oh, it's over. It's over. It's done. We're gonna, Sam, one of my producing partners is here with me, and there's just been times where we've been on set and not known at all what to do. And there's, hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake, and something is broken or someone is sick, and you just don't, there's moments like that, of course, where you just sit for a second and something becomes clear.
Well, a second. I mean, do you then deliberately just take that time out and go and meditate and come back with a solution?
I do try to do that, yes. I definitely disappear as much as I can.
Okay. Now, finally, Bianca.
Yes.
The DLF Resilience Center is a studio in the heart of Zurich where children and adults can learn TM, and parts of the fees are donated to the David Lynch Foundation Switzerland. The name Resilience Center suggests that the studio is not just about making hedge fund managers like Ray Dalio more effective. Can you tell us about what you do?
Yes, thank you so much. So the Resilience Center in the heart of Zurich is in a AAA location. We made sure that it's accessible for everyone and anyone. And we teach, as you said, we actually don't teach, but I'll get to that later. We teach children. The youngest student was 10 years old, adults, of course, as well, people from all walks of life. And I'm actually taking this opportunity to introduce some of our board members and team members. And when I say we teach, I do not teach. I love TM, but I'd love to introduce you two.
Could we have a bit more light in the auditorium again?
Yasmin and Franz, could you quickly get up? Thank you. So they're running the Resilience Center in Zurich. Yasmin is a transcendental meditation teacher for over 20 years, and Franz since more than 40 years. Together, you've taught 3,000 students. And at the Resilience Center, which we opened last April, ever since we opened, you guys, not we, you, taught 90 students. So we're very proud of this, and it's beautiful.
So I understand, according to your mission statement, that you also launch projects that enable people from underprivileged backgrounds to regain motivation and success in life, or you initiate or promote international consciousness-related educational projects. So what are the projects that you're currently planning?
So basically, this is our first event, our first public event. We started working to funding the foundation 3 years ago. My first call with Bob was 2022 October. So it's been taking quite a while. And we've set 4 pillars of impact. One, the education, the healthcare sector, the arts, but also supporting young entrepreneurs nationally and internationally. We believe in partnerships, collaborating with other foundations, and executing projects on an international level, such as Africa. And we're very, very excited for what's ahead of us. And I'd also like to add, our biggest credo and mission here is to respect David and Bob's work, the impact, all the work they've done. And this is our biggest mission, to respect the Mother Foundation and to stay in line. And actually, I will introduce just quickly someone else. You have to take your eyes off of Dakota for a second, guys, and look upwards. Regis, another board member, he actually put together this whole event. It was his idea, his vision. So thank you, Regis.
I'd like to get back to Bob. In your book, Strength in Stillness, you write that TM technique has been practiced for thousands of years, but that it has been honed to 20 minutes twice a day. What has been honed away? And how does TM compare to other meditation techniques?
It's a really good question. And I also wanted to say, Regula, I really loved your presentation, the vibe, your presence, what your words is really, really beautiful, very soothing to hear you. So thank you for your work. I wanted to say that. Really, thank you for your work. There are, according to science, I'm a sort of a science guy. I mean, I love meditation, but I love the science behind it. According to science, there's 3 basic types of meditations that are practiced. There's millions of different types of meditation, but in terms of the impact that it has on the brain and on the body and nervous system, one is called focused attention, which is a concentration form of meditation. The second is called an open monitoring, which is more of a mindfulness approach to meditation. And then the third is self-transcending, which is transcendental meditation. And what it does is, if you use the analogy of a cross-section of an ocean where you have choppy waves on the surface, but the depth of the ocean is quite still and silent. So the mind is the same. The surface of the mind is the active, some people call it the monkey mind, the waves. I like to call it the gotta mind. I gotta do this and I gotta do that and I gotta call him, and all the gottas. And so it's a natural human desire to say, no matter what age, nationality, anything, I'd like some inner calm, I'd like some inner clarity, I'd like some inner equanimity, some inner power, some inner connectedness. And the operative word there is inner. And is there such a thing as an inner, and how do you get there? And David Lynch loved transcendental meditation because it was an effortless practice that didn't deal with the thoughts or on the surface, but gave direct, effortless access to a field of silence and stillness that every one of us, right now, everyone in this beautiful auditorium, everyone in the world, whether we believe it or not, there's a level deep within where the mind is already settled and quiet and peaceful and alert, and we've lost access to it. And transcendental meditation, through the use of a mantra, but in transcendental meditation, it's different. We don't chant it. It's used silently. It's a vehicle for that inward dive, so transcendence. So David's comment always was, you want the experience of transcendence. You can do other meditations as well afterwards, no judgment there, but be sure that you have that transcendence. And when we have that experience, then there is, here I'm coming back to science, a whole constellation of benefits and changes that take place in your brain and nervous system. And I'll just close by saying, the reason for the David Lynch Foundation focus on science is we feel strongly that so many of the problems that the whole world is facing, from the family level, relationships, families, communities, nation, world, is this chronic levels of toxicity and stress that so many people carry around with them all the time. And I believe that that buildup of stress is simply because we're not taking a few minutes twice a day to access that stillness that is already there anyway. And when we do that, it makes us, you and I had a conversation beforehand, before we did this, and you said, well, TM, is it going to make you're going to make a criminal a better criminal, or a bad person a better, better bad person? No, It's going to remove the obstacles and the blocks and the traumas. Many people are born with deep trauma called adverse childhood experiences. It's going to heal those traumas so we can be the better person of ourself, more creative, more loving, more powerful. I mean, look at David Lynch. He said, I don't want to become a hippie staring at doilies. I wanted to have an edge. And that's what the meditation did for him, that transcending process, that settling down. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, sort of. But the second part you answered, not the first part about what was honed away.
Say it again.
What was honed away to get to the technique?
I'm sorry, I forgot about that. I used the word honed away. I used that. I think that...
well, okay, you used honed. I said, all right, you hone, that means you're honing something away. So you're left with the 20 minutes.
Well, it's a good question. Transcendental meditation is practiced all over the world for 20 minutes twice a day. It's in India, in the medical schools. It's in India, in art, with actors and entertainers in the Bollywood. It's taught in the United States. We provide it, as I said, it's in 50 hospitals in New York City to the doctors and nurses. I think it's always been 20 minutes. There's been a lot of stuff around it that one could do or add to, and it's lovely, but the actual practice, what I do for all these years, is 20 minutes twice a day.
Okay. Regula.
I don't think I answered it still enough.
Yeah, well, all right. I'll move on to Regula because I think that might also answer it.
I'm trying.
Okay, no, fine. Regula, I would just like to get back to what you had said before about the types of meditation that you grew up with or that you were originally taught, which come from Buddhism and which take a slightly different approach. I mean, Bob mentioned these other types of meditation. So which types of meditation do you then teach at Seehaus? Seehaus, sorry.
Well, it's very...
Whoops.
Do you hear me? Yes, yeah. What is just a simple meditation to calm first your body down and then focus on your breath and quieting the waves of your mind and getting into the silent mind and rest in the silent mind. So it's a very easy approach of just watching your breath in the beginning and coming down. And sometimes we use a mantra to relax the mind. We override, let's say, our thoughts by a sacred word, which has a vibration, which was recited for thousands of years. And that helps us to get this ordinary thought away, which always comes, this monkey mind. And it all depends a little bit who am I teaching. I would have a different approach if somebody who is very much in his mind and has to understand. So the scientific approach is certainly a good approach for him to understand first what meditation does to him. If it's somebody who is very, very emotional and compassionate, music and chanting is something which helps a lot. So it all depends. But I believe in coincidences. I would like to love TM. It was in my mind before I was asked by Regis to come on this panel, because I know that it is a very, very interesting approach. And I will be building right now a center in the mountains, a retreat innovation hub, and mainly for entrepreneurs. So I could imagine that TM is a very, very good approach to teach them. So I will go on the way, Bob. I will be soon joining your movement because I really want to.
You're already a wonderful person. I look forward to seeing.
But the technique. I need the technique.
And again, it's not an either or. People say, "Well, are you better at this?" It's outcomes. It's just outcomes. And TM gives the body this profound relaxation, wakes up the brain, and there's data that shows that. There are many mindfulness techniques that are used, particularly for people of pain, to be able to manage pain. So it's a profound tool in the toolbox, but I'm sure that everybody at the David Lynch Foundation in Switzerland would be honored to teach you to meditate.
Well, I can also imagine that, I mean, as you just implied, that sort of joining forces might be a very good idea. And we'll let you get to that after the event. You can start planning that. Dakota, what would you recommend to young, curious and skeptical filmmakers and other artists? Would you encourage them to practice TM in any case, or how should they start if they do?
I would encourage anyone to practice TM, honestly. I feel like I can help you with your question about what gets honed away, because I think, Bob, typically we use the word hone as like hone in on something, so what comes into focus and make something clear. But I think, for example, I go through phases with TM. Sometimes it's really hard for me and I have to cut it down from 20 minutes to 10 minutes. And I'll have these calls with Bob. We'll meditate on the phone together sometimes. And it's always the best meditations I ever have, because I'm like, well, my teacher's watching. So I do so much better, even if it's 10 minutes. But I guess what he does is he tells me that it's okay to have a busy meditation. It doesn't mean it's bad. So I guess the things that dissolve away, the things that you let go of, are the self-judgment, oh, I'm not doing it right, or I forgot my mantra, or I fell asleep. I always fall asleep. And Bob is like, well, that's because you're tired and you needed sleep. It's fine. And if you drift off or you go onto a thought pattern and then you remember and you come back to your mantra, that's what meditation is. That's what makes your brain waves go deeper and deeper each time. So does that help answer that question?
I had a slightly different idea in mind,
which
relates to your woo-woo comment earlier. It's the woo-woo that's kind of honed away, the whole sort of esoteric baggage that
I would like to answer
meditation
that.
is often.
Just like a bunch of hippies arguing.
Could I butt in?
Yeah, go.
Okay, but that was a beautiful answer, Dakota. And the thing is, what happens is when you learn transcendental meditation, you learn it, it takes an hour a day over 4 days or something, but then you have a lifetime of support with a meditation, with your teacher, with a teacher, so that you're just free. It's just part of the whole thing. So if you have questions, you can have it addressed. And so much of what we do is so much hard work in life, and even many meditations are exhausting. And transcendental meditation is effortless and natural and innocent. And we think, oh my gosh, I have to try harder. I have to work at this. And so it's just a gentle reminder, no, Dakota, it's okay. If your body falls asleep in meditation, first of all, the research shows it's much deeper than the deepest part of deep sleep, but that's completely fine. It's okay. Now, as far as honed, I feel that meditation in its essential nature, which is what Maharishi brought transcendental meditation back, is non-religious, non-philosophy. I'm a skeptic by nature. When I heard about transcendental meditation, I said, I don't believe in that stuff. And my friend, he held up a pen and he said, dropped a pen in his hand. He said, well, you don't have to believe in gravity for the pen to fall. And so he said, you don't have to believe in this meditation for it to work. But all sorts of things got sort of wrapped up in that simple universal practice. Different cultures, different philosophies, so this whole draping of it. And I think what a beauty of what Maharishi did, and he was a physicist by training in India, and then he had a chance to spend 13 years with a great meditation teacher himself, and then he traveled around the world, and he met David a few times. And what Maharishi did is say, cut all that stuff out. What's at the core? What's at the essence? The essence is everybody has a busy, active mind. The hypothesis is everybody has a field of quiet and stillness and equanimity inside. And access to that is automatic once you learn the sort of the technique. And anyone can do it. And there's no philosophy, but so I think the honing there is it's a tool. I teach so many people, they just say, give me the tool, I'm good to go. Did that answer your question any better?
Yes. It does.
Okay,
Thank you
good,
so much.
finally.
And now I think it's time to open up the discussion to the audience. Could we have some light? And I believe there is a microphone somewhere that will be handed around. If you raise your hand, I would like people to ask questions of the panelists, not make statements so much, try and be concise. Please raise your hand and wait for the microphone to reach you. If there is a microphone, is there a microphone? Yes, there is one at the back there. So who has a question for one of the panelists?
Okay, great. Let's go to lunch.
Patience, my dear. But no fan questions, please. Please stay on topic. Yes, there's somebody there. Please wait for the mic. It's coming.
There we go. Actually, Dakota, I wanted to ask you about that Cha-Cha Real Smooth film, which I found so touching and beautiful. And now realizing that you produced it and the meditation, the calmness in the film and your character and your husband's character. I'm wondering if this meditation has really influenced that movie, because it also is a very calming, sweet, wonderful movie. So I'm just wondering how this all fits in with that film.
I mean, yes, it does. Especially that one. Cooper, the director and the star of the writer, director, and starred opposite me. We would fight a lot. We would not fight, but have creative differences. And he's quite young, and I found him annoying. So TM really helped me.
And him.
And him, ultimately. Because if I didn't have TM, ooh, you better watch out.
Okay. Anyone else? I had a question. Wait, please wait for the mic so we can hear you.
Thank you. Actually, it was for Bob and perhaps Bianca and Regula. And it was sort of like you were talking about TM and the need of a technique. And I think, Bianca, part of what you're doing is also bringing it to younger people or entrepreneurs. And I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about the presence of a teacher? How much is this actually needed in order to be able to continue with the work? And how can we make sure, I've got daughters and I've got friends, and sometimes we share these sort of like in meditations, and then you wonder, do we need to have somebody leading this? Or is it really a practice that can transcend once you know the technique and that's all you need?
Bob, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's the beauty of transcendental meditation. Again, that's why I liked it. It takes an hour a day over 4 days, and then you've got it. Some people like to have access to a teacher. It's not that they're doing a guided meditation, like you're listening to someone say, now feel this or do this. It's just a reminder, a brush up on the effortless practice of no straining, no fighting thoughts. And then you're on your own. So it transcends the need of a teacher, but there's always a value. I mean, a piano, when you learn to play the piano, you learn to play a sport, you learn to sign anything. It doesn't hurt to have a teacher just refresh and brush up what you already know. I think that's the key thing. It's what you already know. It's a reminder. In this case, the teacher's just a reminder. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, good. You did tell me that before. Okay, fine. So yes, the beauty is it does transcend the need requirement for a teacher. You learn it, and then you have access to it. And some people like that, and some people just learn the meditation and you never hear from them again. Great.
Regula, in your case, I suppose it's also a matter of a community that comes together to practice something. That's also a value in itself, I guess.
Yes, I believe so. I mean, it would like always to be your student independent and do it in the morning by themselves. But coming together and celebrating the community and feeling one is very, very beneficial also. It helps to remember if you come together, and to support each other also in the discipline.
Thank you.
It's everybody's choice. That's what's so lovely.
Yeah, you were a lot talking about TM and those 20 minutes, but I don't know what you actually do in those 20 minutes? It's like, maybe you could give us a glimpse. Like, do you think about fish, or what? What do you do in those 20 minutes?
It starts with a dance. So first, I think, Bob, you go.
Was the question too?
Definitely you, sir.
Oh, okay. So I like, again, let's use that analogy of the ocean where you have the choppy waves on the surface. That's your monkey mind or the gotta mind. And then there's the hypothesis that there's a quiet level within. I remember telling that to a guy. I said, TM allows you to settle down to quieter levels of thought. And he said, what are you talking about? What is a quieter level of thought? And I asked him, do you have a good intuition? And he said, yeah. Somebody tells you to do something and, fight why you could do some business or a relationship, and it makes perfectly good sense on the surface. And then you think about it quietly later and you go, I don't think I want to do that. Person says, why? And they say, it doesn't feel right. That feeling is a quieter level of thought. Transcendental meditation, we hypothesize that even deeper than that, this is a repeat of what I said before, but I am actually going to answer your question. Even deeper than that, there's a level where your mind is, as I said, already settled. Transcendental meditation is an effortless practice that, as if gives the attention of your mind an inward direction, like a dive, and then automatically the active surface thinking mind is drawn inward, just begins to settle down very peacefully, very naturally, very comfortably. I remember, again, I'm in New York City and I deal with a lot of skeptics. And they said, will you settle down to a state of inner calm for 20 minutes? How do you know when your 20 minutes are up? And I said, well, you look at your watch. You're not going someplace. It's just your own innermost self. For the mind to settle down, when you learn TM by your teacher, one-to-one, your teacher will give you a mantra, which is it's a fancy word for a word or a sound, a couple syllables, that has no meaning associated with it. And then you're taught how to use that sound, not as a concentrate on, but as a catalyst or a facilitator for the attention to turn within. And then the settling down is completely effortless. And so your question is, what are you thinking about? You could be thinking about life. I mean, whatever is going on in your life, it just, instead of thinking those thoughts up here, where your mind is more heated and agitated, I like to think of it, some little kid who's got boiling over with rage. He's like a hothead. That's here. But here you've heard the term cooler minds will prevail. Cool, calm, and collected. So it's a technique that just allows your mind to just settle down and access quieter, cooler levels of the mind. You can have many of the same thoughts, but instead of here. So what you're actually doing during the meditation, you close your eyes, you sit comfortably, close your eyes, and then your teacher will tell you, select a sound for you, a sound that is positive, life-supporting. It's been used for thousands and thousands of years for just this purpose, simple, and then teach you how to use it, and then you lose it, and you think about other things, and you come back to it. And so that's the value of having a teacher. It's allowing the mind to settle down. And if that did not fully answer your question, it's a bit like trying to describe what a strawberry tastes like to someone who's never tasted a strawberry. You can say, well, it's not an orange, and it's not broccoli, and it's not this. At some point, you just want to try it.
I don't really have a question, but I started, or I made a course with Yasmin a few years ago. Yes, and I wanted to have a course, I wanted to have a tool which helped me to do it alone, because I didn't want to be dependent on a community, because I didn't have the time. I had a lot of stress in my job, and I needed to find a tool to calm me, to get to this inner peace. And really, normally it takes 20 minutes to get there. So that's why it's probably 20 minutes, I said to myself. So it's at the beginning, yes, there's lots of waves, there's lots of stress, lots of thoughts, but after 20 minutes, it's really a calmness and also a warmth, which I didn't experience before. And it helped me a lot, and it helped me all the time now. And otherwise, I probably would have quit my job, but now it works really well. So I would be interested, where are you doing your center in the mountains?
It's in Erlenbach on the lake.
Yes, but in the mountains?
Center, yes, it's in La Punt, the
great.
in-hub.
Oh, wow.
Yes, in-hub.
Yeah, I like the area in the Engadin Valley.
Yeah, in the Engadin.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The lady in red up there.
Thank you so much. It's been so interesting listening to you guys. Ever since I started meditating, and I have to say I didn't learn it in a meditation center. I just learned it in a class, literally, like at Stanford. It's a magic happening around me, and I would like to ask, like, all of you guys, are there any studies that show that coincidences happily happen all the time? When you start meditating, is there something like clearing your energy field or whatsoever, so magic and coincidences can happen? And my second question is, I just came for this event from Germany, Berlin. There's no foundation in Germany. Would you guys also think about like starting a center in Berlin?
Bob, do you want to take this?
The beautiful question about that coincidence or synchronicity, there's a new field of study. I don't know if it's happening in Switzerland, but in the top universities in the US, and it's called the flow state. Maybe you've heard that term, or zone. Athletes talk about being in the zone or being in a flow state, where you're just, everything is just increasingly, and musicians talk about this. I'm sure Dakota knows there's moments when she's just acting and everything is just, it's a moment where you just click in and you're just in it. It's just, there's no resistances. It's just like an automatic. And that is a real thing. There's a brainwave signature to the flow state or the zone state. And we know in our own lives, if we don't have that experience, just if you haven't slept well for several days, you know how everything just seems to go wrong. Everybody's irritating you. You miss the parking place, just nothing goes right. And those days when you just feel on top of things, it's more that you're in attunement or alignment with nature. And that nature is not just something ethereal outside. Nature means my own nature. I'm not overloading my heart, my cardiovascular system, not overloading my limbic system, emotions. My whole body is functioning in a more superfluid way. And there's just something about it, and people report, it's such a beautiful question. People report that life becomes simpler. They're able to do more, actually. David Lynch, he said he could do much more because he wasn't complicating everything. So I think that that synchronicity or that is just an alignment. Again, I don't know the research outside, but it's very clear when you have that from your meditation practice, your whole body is functioning in a more integrated flow state, and then everything follows from that. As far as Germany, there are transcendental meditation centers throughout Germany, and you can Google that. I think it would be wonderful to start a David Lynch Foundation. David Lynch Foundation works in partnership with the TM organization. It's a separate nonprofit organization, but it works in partnership. And I would like to just say one more thing here, because this is me. If I came to this event and I'm going to go hear what Dakota has to say, and then all of a sudden, and forgive me if you weren't thinking this, but if people could say, God, this is like a heavy-duty sales job on TM. This is like a lot on TM. I'd just like to make the point that Transcendental Meditation is a nonprofit organization. It comes up in the US. And I make the point, we're not a pharmaceutical company that has gazillions of dollars to take out ads on television and newspapers and hype something. So it's opportunities like this to be able to just share an experience, because it's a real thing, or it's for you to decide if it's a real thing, but it's something that could be of benefit. And so to have a chance and to have Regula talking, and all of you, Bianca and Dakota, to take time out of her busy schedule, it's just extraordinary. So just understand, there's a lot of enthusiasm for this. There's a lot of excitement. It can actually save lives. Again, in the US, the number 2 cause of death among teenagers today is suicide. Suicide. So now we have an effort to bring this non-pharmaceutical, non-invasive technique that anybody could practice, could learn. It does take a teacher. It does take a few days. It's not like some quick fixy sort of thing, but you have it, and then you have it for the rest of your life. And it's not just hope and prayer that this could be beneficial. There's real data behind it. So I just wanted to, some people ask me this. I'm not like your typical sort of new agey kind of guy when it comes to meditation. I love science, and I love the fact that this does bring peace to the soul, but the soul is actually connected to the heart and is connected to your brain. And so when my soul is replenished, I can see that for a fact by the effects that it has on calming the amygdala, which is the fear center, the emotional center of the brain, bringing the prefrontal cortex back online, which is your higher brain. So I'm sorry if I sort of just butted that in, but I wanted to make that point, that it's a wonderful opportunity to share something that ordinarily we may not hear about.
Thank you, Bob. I think we have to gradually wrap this up. Are there any sort of, this was actually a very good sort of a final thought from Bob. Dakota, Regula, Bianca, any other final thoughts you'd like people to take away from here?
I just to answer your question, I do think that when you are able to be still and quiet within yourself, you do notice synchronicities in the universe more, or in the world, or in, you know, if you're thinking about something and then somebody brings it up, or if there's some sort of, if you have a dream and then you see a thing the next, or if you're like, God, I need help, or like, give me a sign. Like this happened to me a few months ago. I was in a phase where I was meditating a lot because I needed to be as still as I could be in the face of like extreme craziness. And I was in the car with my producing partner, Roth, and I was like, I need help. And I looked out the window and there was a sign on the side of the road, a huge sign that just said Dakota. And I said it out loud, and Roth was like, Dakota, and I was like, Dakota. And it was like this big, crazy moment where I was like, surely that had to be exactly what I was asking for. The universe is now yelling at me. So I definitely believe in that. And I think if you pay attention to yourself and to the world around you more, rather than being like bowled over by it, you begin to see the magic more than the devastation.
Very nice.
Yeah, I really believe that we face so much challenges in the next years and right now already. And that with the artificial intelligence and all the fake news and the social media we need to have a technique to really feel ourselves and to reconnect to ourselves and be able to really push away all the outside influences to stay free. And to have I would like to have my own judgment also. I don't want to be influenced. So I need to have a technique. So I believe all the techniques, they will be so important to be taught to the children, to also the I hope so, the political persons also are getting into that. But we start with the children because that's our future. So.
Yeah, I agree. For me, it is a tool at times when, on social media, the newspapers, I get deeply hurt of the images I see, children, but I don't want to get into that. It's too political. But for me, I've seen the summer where it really hit me. I like kind of pulled back. I left my husband and my children alone, and I went in a room and meditated, and it allowed me to process what we're seeing, because we are under constant stress, not as individuals, not just as, you know, a mother, a wife in business, but also from what we're seeing on a daily basis. And I think that shouldn't be underestimated. So I'm very grateful to have a tool where I don't need another tool. I don't need another device that I can use for myself and just switch off.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of our panelists for participating and for you for coming and listening. A special thanks to Dakota for taking time out of her.
I'm not that busy.
Yeah,
Like,
really.
it's
Fine.
crazy.
She will hang around and talk to you. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you.
I hope we have all come to a better understanding of what David Lynch's life and art had to do with TM, and how the practice of this technique may benefit creative individuals as well as the world at large. I'm grateful to the Zurich Film Festival for giving us the opportunity to discuss these issues and the launch of the DLF Switzerland here today. Make sure to book a free TM intro session if you've been convinced by these panelists, and scan the QR code on the back of the flyer that's been handed around. I'd like to leave you with a short blessing that David Lynch wrote in this book, Catching the Big Fish. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free of disease. May auspiciousness be seen everywhere. May suffering belong to no one. Peace. Thank you.